What are you talking about? This is my favorite dream.
You do know the spot for my least favorite character is still open, right? A Luna-focused episode? Well, we haven't gotten one of those in a while. After seeing the Princess of the Night help other ponies with their dreams, one can only wonder, who helps Luna when she's having a bad dream? This episode tries to tackle that question. Does it actually succeed? Well, let's take a look. What's good? If I were to use one word to describe this episode, it would be fascinating. There's a lot here that we learn about dreams and Luna herself that gives both a clearer picture of the MLP world and opens up more possibilities. The episode does a good job at exploring how dreams work in the world of MLP and how they're connected. The Tantabus travels from dream to dream when one pony dreams of another. It makes me wonder if Luna can do that too, as some kind of convenient shortcut that's faster than leaving the dream she's in and having to go through the dreamscape to find the next pony. There's even some good humor here and there, and for the most part it felt really well placed. Some of the dreams and nightmares of the main six made for some light chuckles and in some cases genuine laughs.
It's so nice to be the pet for once.
Well, some ponies got some interests that she's been keeping to herself. Rainbow Dash's nightmare was especially funny, and might I add that it was a nice dose of karma considering what her dream was. Yeah, that's what you get. The final fight with the Tantabus was a good mix of high-stakes action and lighthearted comedy with a dash of fan service. It was cool to see all the characters' inner desires and fantasies manifest themselves in this collective dream, and there were just too many awesome moments to count. The fan service here was definitely handled better than the show's last attempt. I also like that we learn a little bit more about Luna here. When it came to her own problems, she preferred to solve them on her own because she didn't want to be a burden to anyone, and in the case of this episode, because she was to blame for the whole thing. There's an Applejack-like stubbornness here, the key difference being that Luna's stubbornness is born out of guilt rather than pride. So what's not so good? The main thing that held this episode back was the redundancy in the writing. The story tended to treat the viewers as though they had short-term memory loss, repeating points that were already stated not minutes before. We know what the Tantabus plans to do. We know that it can't be allowed to escape into the real world. We know that Luna wants to defeat it on her own. There's no need to constantly remind the viewer of what needs to be done, why it needs to be done, and the consequences of the characters failing to do it. I know it's been said that kids have short attention spans, but I doubt that they're this short. One could argue that the restating of facts was done to give a sense of urgency, but when it's done to this degree, it makes the writing feel repetitive. The visuals of the episode were enough to give off a sense of urgency. Then there's the big reveal of Luna having created the Tantabus. Now, this part wasn't bad in and of itself, as the idea of Luna still feeling some amount of guilt for her past actions is a believable one, but the redundant dialogue throughout the episode made it feel like they were trying a little too hard to make us feel sorry for Luna when they really didn't need to. The fact that she created this being to punish herself, as short-sighted as it was considering the gigantic risks, was enough to convey some sympathy for her. It kind of felt that the writers didn't have complete faith that this would be enough, so they inserted unneeded dialogue to compensate. But instead of pushing the episode forward, it held it back. Granted, this idea was a hard sell, since the end of Luna Eclipse showed us that the ponies were willing to put the past behind them. Plus, there's also the question of how long Luna had been torturing herself like this, but the repetition in this episode hurts it more than it helps. While this flaw kept the episode from being truly great, I'd still consider it to be a good, worthwhile episode. It was a fun ride even with the various bumps along the way, and Luna's character arc of accepting help from others was better executed here than it was in the Nightmare Rarity arc, as much as I enjoyed it. I definitely go back and rewatch this when the first half of Season 5 is added to Netflix. Which reminds me, there's going to be a half-season break for MLP, so there won't be any new episodes until later this year. While I'm not particularly enthusiastic about this break, I do think that, in the long term, this is still a good decision. I'd rather have this season's episodes spread out instead of airing them all in one go and starting Season 6 in the fall. There is such a thing as too much pony. Well, I guess this means more time for comic reviews and other non-review videos, so be on the lookout for that. So what did you think of Do Princesses Dream of Magic Sheep? What do you think of the half-season break? Let me know in the comments below or hit me up on Tumblr, and consider supporting me on Patreon or commissioning me for art via PayPal. Until next time, keep it sketchy, folks.